Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to In the Round with me, Philip Smith, part 2, coming to you from our Frankfurt office. And with me today, we have Florian, we have Ramon, and we have Jerome. So we previously had a conversation with our wholesale metals business and our e-commerce metals business. And now we're going to look at our dairy business and our payments business. So Jerome, I'm going to start with you. Maybe you can give us a bit of a feel for, a lot of people might understand the payments business globally, but this is very much a regional subcomponent of that global business. So maybe give us a bit of a background to what the business looks like, the client type. Is there any differentiation, anything unique that you'd like to sort of include in the conversation?
Yeah, so thank you very much, Philip. But I think let's look at maybe what we do here from our Frankfurt office, as opposed to what we're doing at
please.
A greater part of StoneX Payments. Obviously, we're very involved with our colleagues all across the globe. But here in Germany, we predominantly look after our NGO or aid and development clients, as well as our commercial clients, our corporate clients that we serve with our payments product in general.
But the way we look at the business, we see it as a global product, which is geographically run, sometimes run by legal entity in different jurisdictions, license driven. It's not as clear cut in terms of it's a global business and that's it in its simplicity. It's a lot more complicated. It's a bit more interactive between different offices, different legal entities,
Absolutely.
And different jurisdictions.
Absolutely, but I think we don't want to burden the client too much with that, right? They want to face us. They want to face us as StoneX Payments. They can face us out of Germany, out of anywhere basically in Europe, or they can do that in Singapore, or they can do that in the United States. And I think that is the interesting part of us. We provide a beautiful product with by reaching through our systems basically the entire world, 180 countries to be specific, in 140 different currencies. So through one single provider in payments, they can reach basically anywhere they want to and be guaranteed that we can settle there the full amount with the principal guarantee at a competitive price. So that is something that I found extraordinary in the market, because there's no one really like it.
Absolutely, and along similar lines with dairy is that we view it as a global offering, a global product, and we have teams scattered around the globe, all part of the same global team, but in I think about 7 different offices, a couple in this, so Chicago, Omaha, Singapore, Frankfurt, Dublin, Paris.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah. Absolutely. I think the beauty of our business is, first of all, we're part of a global dairy team. So we're dealing around the globe with dairy customers. Dairy customers for us are sometimes big producers, but also dairies, traders, end users like chocolate industry, bakeries, pizza producers, fast food industry, but also supermarkets, for example. And due to the fact that the global dairy trade is really global. Of course, we're dealing around the globe with our customers. So we develop products for European customers, but also for customers in Asia or in the US. Recently, we developed a fat-filled swap, for example, that is especially for customers Middle East, Africa, really interesting, but also for the exporters here in Europe. So yes, it's a global product. It's a global client base, and it's a global team, and that's great.
But I think similar to payments, the capability, the extent of what we can do, I think is unique. And we talk about the last 15 years of how the dairy business has grown from pretty much global government intervention, price protection, eventually to open markets and the creation of actual exchange traded products, OTC products. And I would say we are the premier company in that space. And
Absolutely. We started, before the exchange started with future contracts, we started with swaps. on skim milk powder, on butter. We develop this market. We develop new swaps. We develop options for this market. So when today somebody would like to hedge dairy products, we are the main service provider for these solutions. There is no other financial company globally who has offices around the globe. And you mentioned it, we have 7 offices, 2 in the US, I think 3 in Europe, 1 in Middle East, 2 in Asia or Oceania. So yes, we're helping around the globe customers to hedge their risk because the volatility is bigger and bigger. You mentioned it, we had recently, or not only recently, we had over the last years changes in the gap systematic reduction of export refunds. So there was a big change in the environment of the whole market, and also in addition to this, we see more global and geopolitical risk. We see risks when it comes to diseases. So yeah, and there was a reason.
Well, there were some pretty startling statistics, and I'm hoping we get them right. In that, if you take the total volume of exchange traded derivatives relating to dairy products between the US, Europe, and Asia, we represent the majority of the open interest.
Absolutely.
By a long way, and the volume of OTC products is multiples of the volumes on exchange.
Absolutely.
And of which we're probably the vast majority.
I can give you another one that makes that even bigger. The dairy market is 6 times larger than the grains market.
Yeah.
So that all those numbers that you just explained, if you compare them to the traditional grains market, which is a vast market, dairy market is 6 times larger.
These are sort of the statistics, the superlatives that I really want people to remember. And I think what we'll do is maybe we'll put the actual percentages up on the screen, because just to get an up-to-date number. Because similar with payments, I remember talking to people, because obviously I came from the payments business many years ago, and people would say, well, which currencies can you do? And I remember saying, well, I'll tell you what, how about I'll tell you which currencies we can't do.
That's easy.
It's easier. I can do it on like one hand. It's and it's all because of sanctioned countries. So it's those levels of unique capabilities which I really want everyone in our organization to absorb, remember, and talk about, because there's so much within StoneX that we should be proud of, but sometimes it's just a case of not knowing. So we've got to do a better job internally of increasing that awareness, increasing the level of statistics and facts about our capability, because people should be proud and be shocked.
Payments is a perfect example. It's a beautifully simple product that is incredibly difficult to replicate. And it's difficult to replicate because you need the corresponding banking relationships, you need the physical presence in those countries, you need all the parents that nobody else has. And when you go to customers and explain them our capabilities, and you say, maybe you don't know that you have, but probably the last payment that you've done from euro to an exotic currency, that was not done with us, it was done through us. And that raises the eyebrows of people. It starts a conversation to start explaining the whole payments infrastructure that we have, and people get impressed by it because it's impressive.
It'll be great to identify the stats, because there's one that we can't distribute externally, but we take the top 100 payments companies in the world recognized by a third party, and then we analyzed their names and realized that only 16 didn't use us in some form or another at some point in the last 12 months, which once again is startling.
Yeah. It's really amazing, and I find what is so important for our clients and for example our NGOs that are constantly navigating like different situations around the globe, right? A natural disaster doesn't really choose where it's going to happen. It might change. In 23 we had a big earthquake in Turkey, for example. And all these NGOs, they immediately, or not all of them, but some of them, they want to shift, how they move money from one place to the other. So they can choose to do that, through finding different relationships, finding a new banking or payment service provider. But with StoneX, they immediately have access to all those markets immediately and the currency with the guarantee that they're going to get a good pricing out of it, that the beneficiary is going to receive these funds in a timely fashion as well, which is extremely important in cases like that. But if something happens in a different part of the world, they can immediately shift and send up those funds to another place where it's necessary at that point. And the same counts for commercial enterprises, right? Where they see an opportunity in Vietnam existing and they want to capitalize on that. Yeah. StoneX is immediately able to help them provide those funds there where they're needed.
I want to clarify for the other 6,000 StoneX employees that are listening to this, that if they think that this is just a service that we can provide to NGOs or to corporates where they're large or medium sized, it isn't. This is for every StoneX employee. All the services from StoneX Payments are available to them, and they can just go on and sign up, and they can use
all
StoneX.
for free.
Yeah,
it's a benefit for being an employee, and I think the last time it was over 500 employees are utilizing our services, and that's great because we want people to be part of that. And if this is something we can offer as a capability to employees as a benefit, we should, and we have, and we've either just announced it or we'll be about to announce the same with StoneX Bullion. Yeah. But I think to your point that being able to provide that go-to in an event of a natural disaster or a crisis, because of the nature of the clients that we have in the NGO space, having that capability, that reliability, we know that for them, certainty of delivery, certainty of funds arriving is the most important. And the entire business has been built around servicing those charities and NGOs, which then evolved into providing the same service with banks.
Yep.
And that's a business that continues to grow. And it's a stat I would love to know. Jake, in our equities market making desk, told me that if you're in the US and you're using any platform and you're buying a non-US listed stock, there's a 1 in 5 chance your trade will be routed through StoneX. I would love to know, based upon the fact that we have 75 banks using our services who are providing that service to their clients, both individual retail clients and also their commercial clients. I would love to know how many transactions potentially touch us out of those jurisdictions. I mean, I don't think we'll ever get that stat, but it goes back to relating where we sit in the global financial system and how relevant we have become in certain areas. And payments, dairy, where we are leading the way, is what people should be aware of and proud of.
Absolutely, we do 90% of the exchange volume, but you mentioned it, the OTC volume is much bigger. So we have the certainty that more or less every trade we do in the dairy space, we see these trades. Sometimes we are not quick enough, but most of the time we do these trades for our customers. So you're right, we can be really proud about this success, but it's really important to develop new products because volatility is going up. New products, we see new consumer trends. For example, protein, it's really important at the moment. We see protein prices are going up. So due to this situation, we develop a new swap for WPC80, for example. We see the demand for protein due to these due to the change in the
number of
consumer trend, yeah.
The number of new OTC contracts we've launched in the dairy space and dairy related products is unique. No one else comes close, and that's built upon us having a great relationship with both sides, the consumer, the processor, the producer, and having the having the ability to work closely with our clients to piece together transactions which cater their demand, their risk mitigation, and be able to lead the way is unique.
Absolute. And earlier I explained this. On the one hand side, we have big chocolate producers. On the other hand, we have farmers. Normally, these companies can't trade with each other. But due to the fact that there is a demand for long-term hedging on the buy side, we have the sell side who has the same approach when it comes to hedging. We can match these customers, and it's perfect for everybody.
Well, they won't transact with each other.
Correct.
But they need a financial.
Correct. And
like
nobody in the market has this possibility to trade on the one hand side with farmers, but also with multinationals.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest sign of innovation in a market that is so mature, like the dairy market is just continuous improvements. And continuous improvement come from challenging the status quo of whatever we're doing every single day, and talking to the customers and evolving with the customers as they are evolving. So when they come up to us with what they usually say, well, I have this crazy idea, and then you start figuring that out, and you come up with a solution that is creative. That is innovation, and that's what we see in the dairy markets, or we see in the grains markets, and that is why we not only are relevant, that we stay relevant, and we keep growing the customer base.
And what I really like in our business is that we are not only doing the financial trading for our customers, we are also educating customers. We have this consulting team from the beginning. We do a lot of education. We develop hedging strategies for our customers. So we implement policies, procedures around these topics. So from the beginning, we do a lot of hand-holding. We support them with market intelligence solutions. We have StoneX Plus. They can integrate their physical positions into our software. This creates a lot of stickiness with StoneX. So that is great. That's a beauty in our business. That's not only the trading part. It's also we can develop with our customers strategies for the future to make sure that these companies stay for a long time in the business. And that's great.
And with the development in our Nexus technology and bringing all these different products together, so we hope it will then make it easier for cross-selling between a client of product A and product B and C, and the types of clients that you deal with on a regular basis, many of which are household names, multinationals. They are dealing with us in other products as well, and easing and just making it easier for them to transact is our objective.
Absolutely.
Including payments, including the ability.
They need to make a payment, or they need to receive it. Yeah. So, and a lot of it, as you mentioned, is cross-border. It seems like so. That is definitely interesting. Going forward, how we can merge those products together into one, or make it accessible for our clients to easily tap into that greater StoneX ecosystem.
Which is why it's so important that it's not just a senior level, but every aspect, every level within the organization needs to be talking to each other, communicating and understanding about each other, because that breaks down barriers. That gives people an understanding of what another product does, what another capability within the organization is, and that should inspire the ability to cross-sell. That should inspire the desire to improve the relationship with clients and generate more revenue.
Yeah, definitely. And to be honest, in the past, it was difficult to do the cross-sell. We had different, when it comes to grains, for example, different teams, different desks. We still have these desks, but the communication now is much better. We growing into one team. It's similar to dairy. We are really one team here. And now we bring the dairy team, we bring the grain team, but also the soft commodities team together, because a chocolate company is not only hedging whole milk powder, skim milk powder, they're also hedging the sugar, they're hedging the cocoa. We can think about physical trading with these companies. So for the future, it's really interesting for us to do this cross-sell, because the account is open, the amount of work is done. Now we can execute financial trades, but also physical trades with these type of customers. So we have definitely to focus more on the cross-selling aspect.
And the next 5 years, what do you see as the potential, the growth, some things that you're looking forward to and excited about, and what we all collectively will see in future revenue numbers? And
well, times 10 would be nice in the next 5 years, but what I'm looking forward to is the continuous expansion of our product and the offering towards a different segment of clients, right? So that we can service more people with our product and allow them to utilize the service in different ways, complementary services, maybe something along the line of holding accounts with StoneX, right? Or being able to do a currency hedge with us.
Well, we are moving forward with
Exactly.
the e-money licenses, so we can offer e-money bank accounts in all the different jurisdictions where we operate. So that's something that's probably moving forward. So hopefully that will be, won't take too long. But you're involving regulators.
Exactly.
So it's always
I don't want to run too far ahead with this, but I know that in time these things will come, and it will also be interesting for some of these producers, right, that you're talking about, that are maybe exporting, so they need to receive these funds from abroad. If they want to make it easy for their customers to pay in their local currency, we might be able to offer that in 35 different currencies.
You are right, and to be honest, I forgot that we have done some cross-sell in the past with this Polish trading company, for example.
Right.
So it's not only about the commodities, it's also between payments and commodities. And back to your question about the next 5 years, what I see is we're using more and more technology on the one hand side when it comes to the business development, but also we will use more and more software, AI technology or software to create one platform for a customer to make sure if he would like to execute a trade, he's not really sure about the right strategy, that we can support the customer with the right strategy in a short period of time, and he can execute the trade with confidence with us. And I think for the next 5 years, software, AI, efficiency, that's really important for us. And last but not least, education of customers. So we do a lot when it comes to the education, but we can do more. And in the past it was good, but we can do it all the time better. We have to ask about the status quo. And when we see the opportunity to do things better, then we have to do it. And there is upside when it comes to these education strategies. So that's also important to make sure customers have the right mindset, the right education to execute more trades, not only on commodities, but also when it comes to currencies, for example.
Well, I think the e-money license, being able to give our clients globally bank accounts in different jurisdictions, different currencies, in one place is good. It will be it'll be another opportunity to cement that relationship in other products.
Yeah.
A market like payments, where we think that we've been doing it for so long, and we should be one of the deeper. We're just again scratching the surface of the services that we can provide to our customers. The email license is going to expand that enormously. I do think that in 5 years' time, our cross-border, cross-jurisdiction, cross-product onboarding is going to allow us to give to the customers a platform that they can design to reflect themselves. So you as a customer for StoneX, you will have an interface with us that will look totally different than his, and you will be able to build it for what you need, and that is going to allow us to grow in an exponential way, and the customers will be able to access products from StoneX that maybe today they don't even know they have access to.
Well, I think if you look at our general technology project rollout timeline, it's been completely ripped up because of AI. We're now seeing tangible, frighteningly fast, tangible, changes to the timeline. Something that was 9 months is probably taking 2 weeks. It's forcing us to think the next 18 months that we had planned, we've got to be thinking about after that, because that's going to be done in a few months. And that totally transforms how we bring all our products together, how we produce that single capability to all our clients, and not still have the legacy different avenues in different ways you touch StoneX, which we have today. So I think that's going to be transformational, but we're already starting to see that. So I don't forget 5 years, that's more like,
You're right.
we'll come back again next year and compare notes. My objective has always been to increase awareness, increase the communication, increase the collaboration, and that I feel will always result in cross-selling. And we have seen it across the organization over many years, and I think it's a real differentiator between us and some of our competitors and peers in certain spaces, because I just don't think that's a culture that you see elsewhere. I think it's unique to StoneX. I think it's unique to the characters and the people we have running our businesses, and an indication of the quality of people and the desire to become more relevant and more important to our clients. And
I think also in that process, right, something that I always hear back from what everybody cares about with there is the relationship to the client, right? So once we grow, right, we should be able to maintain that quality relationship with our client. And payments is very important, right, to make sure that if you do one payment wrong, a client is, unhappy. But if you build this relationship over a longer period of time, in general, I think that, the client relationship is probably the most important thing to carry this forward, right? To be able to tap into that relationship that you've been building for a long period of time. Some of these NGO clients that we're working with have been with us for over a decade, some even more. Some of the corporate clients in your sector, right, have been with you for a very long time, and you've built that level of trust. When we're cross-selling, we should be able to provide that same level of service from a payments point of view as from a dairy point of view, let's say. Yeah. I think that is also an important thing, that once we grow, that we take that with us while we grow.
Well, I think I mentioned this earlier on. This year, 30 years ago, I started with the payments business, and there are many clients who are still with us today.
Yeah.
And I think that's testament to the business, the capability, but also what StoneX has become. So something to be proud of.
Absolutely. It's wonderful to work with these clients.
It is. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. I hope this gives everyone a better understanding of some of the businesses and capabilities we have in Germany out of our 2 offices in Hamburg and Frankfurt, and more about dairy and payments generally. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Super.